Should we get started?
Sure.
All right, we're talking about Creed 3 today, which we went and saw last
Woo!
night. Woo!
So exciting.
Do you want to give the brief summary of the movie, or shall I?
Oh man. Well, first, before we get headlong into this thing, I think we need to lay some ground rules. Um, Specifically spoilers. How much are we going to cover? Do we want to keep this pretty high level overview so we don't ruin the experience for anybody who wants to
Yeah, I
see
think
what
we
we
keep
have
it
to say?
pretty general. Yeah, let's since the movie came out yesterday. Yeah, let's keep it pretty spoiler free. I'm gonna close the door.
Okay. All right. Well, basic overview of the movie is Rocky 3, I mean Creed 3 takes place
Just as good as the
at
other
the
two.
end.
Those. Oh, we had a
What
chat.
was that?
Creed 3 was fantastic, just as good as the other two in my opinion, and I adored those. It's just someone's chatter. Thanks, Ryan. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. I was headlong into the overview and you just
I'm sorry.
interrupted
I'm
me.
sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
Um, so Creed 3 is kind of the tail end of Adonis's career as he's moving on to more hosting a gym and coaching when an old friend from his past, um, who Donnie used to think was a brother, came back. They have some interesting drama. They have a past. Dame, who's Adonis's friend, Damien, has been in prison for the past 18 years because of something that happened between the two, which we'll explain later. I don't think we'll go over it just to keep it pretty light. But long story short, he wants his shot at becoming a champion, and he's willing to do anything he can to get that shot. And as things start to unfold, tension starts to happen between Dame and Adonis, and they end up having to go toe to toe at the very end of the movie because of their differences. So, basic overview of the plot.
Yeah. Love Michael B. Jordan's direction. Really felt his inspiration throughout the movie. Oh, very. You could tell this movie was very much more Michael B. Jordan's baby than the
Yeah, it's
others.
his
Yeah.
directing debut, so I think it was pretty dang good, to be honest.
It was. First thoughts, the movie was great. It was absolutely fantastic. I really liked it a lot. To For my sake, I do think it's the weaker of the three creeds. But that being said, it's probably the strongest movie of 2023 so far.
I will. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah, definitely.
What a debut, right?
Yeah,
So I am
absolutely.
just gonna add context that if we say that we talked about this a little bit last night, if we do say it is the weaker of the three, I want this to like be incredibly clear to whomever's watching. The baseline of this movie is still incredibly watchable.
Absolutely fantastic. Oh yeah, way past that. It is fantastic. It is the best movie of the
So
year so far.
yes, so if we start pointing out its flaws, baseline, let it be said that this is incredibly watchable.
Absolutely. Um, what I like about the Creed movies. So, for a little bit of context on me too, I just barely watched all three Creed movies in the last week, so I'm very new to this world, this trilogy.
The Rocky World.
Yeah, very new to it.
Gosh.
Um, but that being said, I love it.
Yeah, it was really good. I would say, but together they stand tall as one of the best movies. Yeah, honestly,
Oh
I
yeah,
would say to be frank, this is probably the most ambitious of the three. That being
very.
said, I don't think it lands. It doesn't stick all of its landings, but I think it's the most ambitious of the three. It took the series in a completely different direction by getting rid of Rocky, which I actually think needed to happen. I love Rocky to death, and I
I
really
think we
miss the
should
chemistry.
definitely dig
But
into that Just that point specifically a little bit later too.
Yeah,
But Rocky being gone actually affected the movie in different ways. But
it did.
continue.
And I wouldn't say it affected it in a negative way, but man, I just
No.
wanted to see Rocky. That's just
Yeah.
me.
Well, I think
Um,
again being new to the series, I feel like the thing that I connected to the most with the Creed movies, the other two, was the relationship between Creed and Rocky.
mhm.
And so, not saying this movie isn't great and doesn't have great relationships, but that missing, I felt that missing. I missed
I did
Rocky
too.
because he wasn't, that connection wasn't there.
Think Creed 3 needed Rocky. I'm glad it was mainly Creed.
Oh,
I think it,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I completely
Um,
agree.
I'm actually gonna say I don't think it needed Rocky. As personal taste, I want Rocky, but
Yeah.
as the movie stands, I honestly don't think it needed Rocky. I think it just needed to stick a few more of its landings. And I think we would have been okay to accept that Rocky has kind of moved on and he's just trying to get back with his family. And Adonis is he has his family too, and I think they could have if they could have pivoted a little bit more around his social relationship with either Duke, his coach, or his
Yeah.
family, I think would
I
have
feel like
been
a lot
just
of
a
it
little
was
bit
made
better.
up with the relationship with his daughter, but there wasn't enough of that in the movie to quite replace that connection he had with Rocky. So I agree. I think if they would have had a little bit more chemistry and a little bit more time dedicated to his relationship with Duke, then it wouldn't have felt as weird. But there did absolutely feel like something was missing in the movie because Rocky wasn't in it. Not saying that Rocky had to be in it. It's just that there was something missing that wasn't made up for, at least to me.
Yeah, I know. I really liked how they ended Rocky's arc too. You could tell at the end
Absolutely,
of
yeah.
two it was time for Rocky to kind of pass the torch, and I like that.
Seeing his daughter was
I
so beautiful and
think
touching. It was. It was so cute. He was a good dad.
I think this movie needed 15 more minutes. Usually, I'm one for trimming movies, but I think this movie could have benefited with 15 to 20 more minutes, and it could have stuck every single landing.
Completely
Um,
agreed. There was things that were not tied off. There was not stuff that was paid off at the end of the movie that I wish you could have given me 30 seconds to pay off.
all right, but that's general overview.
Yeah.
Incredibly watchable, incredibly enjoyable. I do not regret paying for the extra price to see this in IMAX.
Oh,
Um,
no. Hey,
Put that out there.
absolutely see it in IMAX.
Man, it
Before,
was so
yeah.
good.
Before we dig in, like, overall review, movie was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. This was an incredible one.
Incredible
Yeah.
in IMAX. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. All right. So, where do we want to start, babe? Do we want to just kind of go through the movie very generally and talk about, I don't know,
Sure.
maybe
Yeah, we
first
can go
act,
through it.
second act, third act?
Yeah.
We talk about John. Oh my goodness, Jonathan
Jonathan
Majors.
Majors, man. There's a reason people are saying he carried Ant-Man.
Yeah, I haven't seen Ant Man yet. I've marveled out. Um,
But
but
yeah, no, Jonathan
Jonathan
Majors
Majors,
great. Go ahead.
and that guy is so big. He's so
Yeah.
jacked out of his mind. It was incredible. But aside from him being like, his physique is just as built as his acting repertoire. Because let me tell you, I don't know, he carried this movie for me. As much as I love Adonis, I
No, yeah, he
was
did.
110% invested in his character. I didn't know how things were going to play out for the drama just because I felt for him. I know, Rachel, you didn't feel for him, but
I did not. And we can talk about
he
that.
was,
But
he was like, he had my heart in his hand and I felt for him and I wanted him to be successful and I wanted things to work out for him. At the same time, he is the antagonist. So,
yeah, for me personally, I love Jonathan Majors. I thought he did a great job, but I did not empathize with this character. To me, like he was what's a word I can say on stream? um to me he was
he's a
kind of
punk.
a punk. Punk's putting it lightly. I I don't know. I thought he was kind of a manipulative, for the lack of a better term, a dickhead. But
Tessa Thompson. Oh yeah, Tessa Thompson deserves like two thumbs way up because she actually provided a face that wasn't just like RBF. She actually had happy faces and sad faces and like cute faces and teasing faces. And I was so proud of her that she actually acted this movie.
I like
I
her a
was
lot.
so
I like
happy.
her relationship with Creed too. Like she doesn't put up with his crap, and I like that.
I just have personal beef with Tessa Thompson because I feel like she always like I could pull up 7 shots of Tessa Thompson in a bunch of movies she's been in, and she has the same face. She's pulling the same face always. But this movie, I actually felt like she had a lot of character, and she's
This yeah,
very
she's
human.
Stewart syndrome,
So
huh? She always
yeah,
shined in the Creed movies. Yeah, she did. I like her
I
a lot
agree.
in the Creed movies. Um, yeah.
All right, well, let's just start off and kind of go through the first act and explain briefly how each act is covered. We don't have to go into details because we all know the Rocky formula, and it still follows the Rocky formula.
Very
We
much
start
so.
off. We start off with a fight. We have drama. We have a training montage. We have the end fight. So
Yeah, so let's talk about the first fight through when Dame shows up.
yes. So the first fight is, I think, first 5 minutes. So it's not really a huge spoiler. Is kind of the end of Adonis's career,
Mm-hmm.
doing one last fight. Um, and I gotta say, um, the fights are incredibly ambitious, as I stated earlier. I think this was the most ambitious of the movies. Um, and so I don't know. Michael B. Jordan said that he had a lot of inspiration. He took a lot of inspiration from anime in regards to the fight scenes. And as personal
I can
taste
feel you
goes,
grinning.
you can hear me
I
grinning.
can hear
As
you
person
grinning.
as personal taste goes, I love that. It added a new sense of gravitas to the fights. Um, and each fight had a minor storytelling moment, um, which was exciting to watch. It did a really good job of building up something small to become a huge payoff. So in the first fight, it's all about Adonis spotting the weakness of his enemy, and he keeps spotting it and keeps spotting it, and it makes you very aware that Adonis is spotting a very specific weakness in his enemy. And it looks like, I mean, Adonis has taken a couple hits, and so everybody's wondering what Adonis is doing. But he's calm, he's composed. He just keeps narrowing his in on that weakness, and then there's finally this big payoff where he's able to cash in on that weakness, and he just obliterates the competition. And so it's very, very anime in the sense that they
Very
have
anime.
small moments that they just keep building, building, building up until you have a huge payoff.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
cool
don't know.
too, without giving anything away. It's kind of a throwback fight too,
Yes.
which is cool. This film, just in general, this film feels a lot like the finale, just in that aspect. 'Cause there's a lot of throwbacks to the other films, in small
Hmm.
ways. Nothing that takes away from the story itself, but just a few throwbacks throughout the film to remind you like what happened before and who he's met and what he's overcome.
Yes. So, tail end of Donnie's career, and then his new best friend, Dame, comes back into the picture, and Dame's been locked up for 18 years. Um,
After a
and
mishap with which Adonis was involved in.
and we won't explain what that is. We'll just kind of
We'll leave
let
it to
you
that.
watch it. Yep. And you can see how that all plays out. But yeah, there's some drama and there's some tension, and things are a little bit awkward, but you can tell there's still some sort of relationship between the Donnie. Donnie's trying to reach out. That's a little awkward for him because somebody he used to consider his brother's been in prison for most of his life, and like we've never heard about this character before. And so it's kind of Donnie coming to grips that this guy still exists, and now he's back in Donnie's life, and he has to figure out how to cope with that and how to try and help his friend too.
Which I am gonna compliment the film on that because again we've never heard of this character before. We never heard of really this part of Donnie's life at all before. But hats off to the writing for that not feeling forced. Like I felt like they did a good job revealing that aspect of his life without like feeling like that was forced into the story. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it does. I
Like,
think they did a good job. This is going to sound weird, but they did a good job as making it as awkward for the audience as it was
uh
for the
huh,
characters in the show.
yeah, 'cause it's like, oh,
Um,
wait, who's this guy? And it's like, wait, Donnie, what's going on? So you almost feel like you're Tessa Thompson's character at the moment he comes back, because it's like, wait, who is this? What's going on? How do you know him? What happened? Yeah,
hmm And you can tell there's some unspoken tension
yeah,
just because Donnie hasn't been in prison for 18 years, but
no,
Dame has. And I mean, the movie opens up with like the scene, a part of the scene from their past. So the whole time as the audience, you're wondering what happened that Dame went to prison and like Donnie got a successful life.
mm-hmm.
And so because you're unsure of what actually happened, it helps build that tension beneath the surface of them trying to reconnect.
Yeah,
It's a really good, really, really good. No, it was done really, really well.
it was.
A lot of this, a lot of this movie, I felt like was a lot lower stakes. It wasn't about Donnie trying to prove himself or accomplish his dreams. It wasn't about him trying to get out of his father's shadow and become his own person. He wasn't trying to set his. It wasn't about Adonis's ambition, which was interesting. This whole movie was more about an emotional struggle that Donnie's going through, and Donnie has to figure out how to.
Yeah,
Trying to think
exactly
of the
right.
word.
It was him coming to terms with his
Terms
past.
with his past. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has to figure out how to live and let live. No, he has to figure out how to move on.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
not just
and so
pretend like
this.
it didn't happen.
hmm So that leads up for some very interesting things towards the end of the movie, which we'll kind of get to. But like I said, it was very ambitious because it was more of a character story than it was a Rocky movie in that way or a Creed movie.
Um. Anyway, so that's most of the first act. We meet Dame. Um, Dame seems like an okay-ish guy when we first meet him. Just got out of prison, so he's a little awkward. Um, but all he wants to do is just fight. He was, as a kid, like he was a really good boxer, but then he got locked up and never had a chance to pursue that at all. So now he's looking for some help to actually have his dream now that he's out of prison.
Mm-hmm. So he's trying to get Adonis's help so he can fulfill his dream. Um, and as he starts trying to fulfill his dream, it things start to seem a little off, and things start
He
going a little
gets
sideways.
he gets desperate.
Yes.
And to not spoil anything, he gets desperate enough to do some pretty crappy stuff. Um, this is where I lost all empathy with him.
Yeah. No, I get it. So we have to be very careful because I feel like we are going through
Yeah.
quite a bit of the plot. Um, but essentially, right, they have to build up the villain at some point, the antagonist. And so there is that moment where the antagonist starts to be built up. So there is a very clear moment where you are sympathetic with the character, but he starts to do antagonistic things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so some things start happening throughout the movie that's clearly put him like he starts becoming a little less gray.
Yeah.
At first, he was kind of like white, and then he turned a little gray, and then he starts really moving into like the darker shades of. I don't want to say the darker shades, but I'm gonna say the darker shades of black. But I don't know, darker shades of gray.
Yeah, he
Um,
turns more antagonistic for sure.
I think that's all we should say for that.
Yeah, I have a
Um,
really strong opinion that we debated about last night, but it might be a little too spoiler to talk about.
I don't know. I think we can talk about our feelings without talking about
Okay,
went
so
to
you
gray to dark,
go
back
ahead.
to
Say
gray.
why you empathized with Dame.
I empathize with this character, especially as we learn more about his whole life. Um, he's just a guy that needed a shot, and he didn't have very many resources in order to fulfill his dream. And his dream's been on hold for 18 years, and all he's seen was his best friend live out his dream. And it was his dream before it was Donnie's dream. And the fact that he's been dealing with this for 18 years, I felt that. And there's only so much he can do. He has no resources. He just came out of prison. The only people that he knows are people that are from prison, and then one other person, which is Adonis. And it's like, how do you make your chance happen with no resources and no help? And Adonis was the only thing closest to family that he's ever had because they were both in foster homes. And so he reaches out for Donnie for help, but things just don't go his way, and he has to resort to the only resources that he has, which, of course, since he's come straight out of prison, aren't good resources. And so as a result, he does some pretty crappy things. But I understand the fact that he's desperate and he just wants a shot. And like, he can't live an unfulfilled life coming out of prison and not, I don't know, and just waste away and be a broken man. I think he's trying to. Adonis is broken and he's also broken. He's trying to figure out how to put his pieces together, but he doesn't have the resources to do it correctly.
Yeah, see, for me, the way I felt about Dame is I understood his desperation. I understood unfulfilled dreams. And I was with him at first. But as the story progressed, I felt more and more like Dame pulled someone out of the hat that he knew was famous and had connections to what he wanted. And I felt like he used Adonis more than he was actually like trying to regain his relationship with Adonis. So I felt completely like Dame was just a manipulative dirtbag from the beginning, and that's how I felt about him.
See, I didn't feel like he was a manipulative dirtbag because he didn't
I did.
ask for anything. I know, but he didn't ask for anything else from Donnie except one chance.
Yeah, but he
And
wanted
Donnie,
that chance to be a chance at like the title. He wanted like I want to get in and have everything all at once.
hmm
Yeah.
which
He
I
did he
completely
didn't want to
understand.
he
He
didn't
was he was Rocky.
Yeah, but like he never did anything to take take the time to prove himself to be worth that. He just wanted it. He wanted to come out of prison and just immediately be the top of the line. He didn't want to put any work into that.
I
He
agree.
just
I
wanted to
agree with
use Donnie
Ryan.
that. He wasn't
I don't
manipulative
think
per
he's
se, just deeply flawed. Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess manipulative is not the right word. I agree with you too, Ryan. But like that's how I felt about Dame is that he pulled Adonis out of his hat because he knew Adonis had the connections to get what he wanted, not because Adonis was Adonis.
To me,
It's
I
like
thought
when you have a friend in like kind of a friend in high school that you haven't talked to for 10 years, but suddenly they need a job and they reach out to you. That's how I felt about it. To be fair, he is older than Creed. For him, it felt like I get that. I understand his desperation. I just don't. I didn't feel like he was reaching out to Adonis because Adonis was his friend. And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but that is the impression that I got, and that's how I was feeling during the movie. I felt like Adonis was being used, especially after you found out what he did to get the fight.
See, to me, it wasn't him manipulating Adonis. It was just things weren't going his way, and he had to make something happen. So, fun fact: I just looked up their ages. Jonathan Majors is younger than Michael B. Jordan.
That's funny. Yeah, but Adonis
But
didn't reach out to him either after Dame went to prison. Yeah, but that's not Adonis's fault.
it still kind of is. Um, he didn't even try. But
Well, wouldn't that even be
so
more to my point though? Because like they went their separate ways. Yes, to be fair, Dame's wasn't exactly his choice, but well, it was his choice. But you know what I mean. But like they weren't still friends. It's that's what I'm saying. Like it's like reaching out to someone you haven't talked to in 18 years for a
yes, but
job.
it's different than that because how things happen in Dame's life, you have no networking. You literally have nobody, right?
That's
You've
true.
been locked out for 18 years.
Prison
You don't have an
conditions.
education,
Absolutely.
that too, but you don't have education. You don't know anybody. Nobody's there to pick you up because you don't have family. So you have to walk out of the gates of prison and you have to take a bus. Where do you go? Where's the first place you go? If you don't know anybody, you don't have a job, you don't have an education,
That's true.
right? But he had one person, and it was a stretch. Who was the one person he still knew existed,
Adonis. You're right.
right?
You're right. But that I don't know. I can't quite get on board that Dame was not like totally. I just can't get on board that Dame was just desperate and condone what he did. I
Oh,
can't.
I can't condone his actions, but I'm saying I could sympathize with him, because man, okay, so let's play off of, let's say that um, Adonis is 36, like he is in real life. Okay, most fighters retire about or after 35. Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna say that Jonathan Majors is 2 or 3 years older than him. Okay, he is well past his prime. He's 39, maybe turning 40 soon. We'll say 38, 39, 40. In that, yeah, I can't condone anything that he did, but I can understand the
I'm not saying I
situation.
don't understand his situation. I do. I'm just
So
saying that like
he
I
has
felt like
he
he
has
was
negative time.
right. I'm
Not
just
that
saying
he's running
like
out of time. He
he
has
you
negative time.
he did use Adonis. He used him. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, later on, I think his initial. Okay, so I'll explain kind of how I think things went out. Initially, he reaches out to the only person he knows, who's Adonis. He's sincere about his dreams. He is honest and upfront about what he wants to accomplish, although it's
Okay,
a little
yeah.
bit
I'm
brazen,
still with him at this point. Yeah.
right? And well, I know I was too, and I understand. Like as I stated, he does antagonistic things, and so your perspective, like you like him a little bit less, but I could still sympathize with him. But anyway, so he he's genuine. He's not trying to manipulate Donnie into anything. At first, he needs a shot, and things just aren't working, and he's trying, and it doesn't work, and he tries something else, and it doesn't work, and then finally, you know, things finally swing in his favor, suspiciously. And it was, I'm not saying he should have done it, and I'm not saying what happened was right, um, but it's very clear that he's he's not doing it because he's a bad person. He just has nothing else that he could do.
I get that.
And so I could still sympathize with him. So even though Michael B. Jordan does not look 39 at all. He's 36, just to clarify. Michael B. Jordan's 36. I was saying they mentioned that Dame is older than him. So I'm just saying, let's say Dame's like 38, 39. But so I can't condone anything that he may or may not have been involved in.
But let's remind ourselves, like he did use Adonis. He did. And then as soon as he got his shot, he turned his back on Adonis as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's why I felt like he just used him.
Oh, new thought. Here's my other thing. I don't feel like he turned his back on Adonis. I think Adonis turned his back on Dame. Hear me out.
Okay.
Man, all right. Actually, we're gonna move on. Do we just do? Can you put something up that says spoiler section? I don't know. Hey, let's get through the thing. I'm gonna come back to this. We're gonna put a pin on this because I can't explain why I
Okay, if
felt
I
like
mention
Adonis.
spoilers regarding Dame's character, we're trying to keep
Not
it.
yet. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. We're trying to keep things spoiler free. Trying to get into things without getting anything too much away.
We'll put up a spoiler section. You can put up like a big thing that says spoiler talk in like big red letters once we get there,
Okay.
so people know. But long story short, I could sympathize with Dame where Dame's coming from. That being said, he's an antagonist. They have to make him antagonistic one way or another. So like sketchy
Agreed.
things happen.
Agreed.
So we're just gonna say that we're gonna move on to the final act. In which case, I think the final act was the biggest struggle because the final act is where some payoffs don't happen. And then on top of that, they try some very new creative ideas within the final fight.
And see,
Which
this is
some
where we
people can buy
disagree.
into, some people can't.
So the final fight, as far as like overall impressions, there's specifics that I didn't like. Overall impressions, it is a very emotional fight and done really well. Specifically, how they go about the fight took me out of the movie, and I had a little bit of a hard time with it.
See, it's very interesting because some people say that they like the idea. So there's a moment. I'll just keep it pretty general. It won't really reveal the story, but I think it was a really cool moment. An idea. How it's executed, though, I think is going to be up to each individual's taste.
Yeah.
There's a moment where everybody disappears from the stands, and it's just a back and forth brawl between Adonis and Dame, and there's
And
nobody
it's very
else.
symbolic.
Yeah, and there's nobody else except Dame and Adonis in like the ring, and there's no music, no crowd, no family. It's just these two guys going back and forth, just kind of letting their emotions out, and it has some symbolism. Like you see, jail bars go up around the cage at some points. It's very interesting, and it's a very different dynamic than the fights we've seen in the past.
It's very symbolic. There's lots of objects or visual attributes of the film that are paid off during that fight, because like as you're learning the story, you learn kind of what happened with Adonis and what happened with Dame, and so the emotions keep going throughout the film. You're learning more of what they're actually fighting, not necessarily fighting each other, and so that final fight brings everything together in a very visual way, which I appreciate a lot. I think is really, really cool. I just don't know what it was, but the way it was executed took me out of the movie. Like, I took a step back and realized I was watching a movie again. And maybe that's what it was supposed to do, and if that was the point, then hats off to you, but that is what happened to me watching the film.
It was. I'm not gonna lie. It was jarring at first, and
It
I
was
thought it
very
was
jarring.
strange. But the moment I just kind of bought into the idea and accepted what was happening and why it
Yes, and
was
that's what I
happening,
mean. Like it's just
it brought me back in.
jarring. Yeah, and the same for me, especially towards the end when I was seeing certain objects that I'd seen throughout the film, especially during flashback moments or whenever Adonis had to, come grow emotionally. I was appreciating it because I understood exactly what was going on and I liked that. But when it first happened, it was incredibly jarring, and I was reminded I was watching a movie again. And so again, like if that was the point of it, then hats off, that's great. But that is what happened to me watching the movie. Is all I'm saying.
I think the one thing that could have fixed that scene, the green screen.
Yeah.
I think if they just had a boxing ring in an empty stadium with lights, um, and less green screen, I think it would have been less jarring.
Yeah, that's probably true. And that's probably why it bothered me because I was like, this isn't real, and that's what took me out.
Because I liked what was happening. The
Agree. I did
whole
too.
like I liked everything that was happening. The fight visually was very appealing in terms of the two characters. But I
Mm-hmm.
think what was strange was how surreal the background was. It was very much like a green screen. It didn't feel fake. I would disagree with you,
Yeah,
Ryan. It
it
seemed
did.
like they had a very low budget for CGI in that
And
moment.
that's okay. It's just, and again,
But
like
the
I'm
thing
not
is the
saying
fight didn't
it's
rely on CGI. But
right. There was nothing super reliant on CGI. It's just that is what happened. Like during that moment of the film, it is very jarring and could have been improved. Doesn't mean the movie wasn't good, but
still
there
better CGI than Quantum Mania. Yeah, I don't doubt
oh
you
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, I think what really should have happened is if they just kept it, like they spent the money to have an arena and a stadium. Like even if it's not even the stadium that they're in, like a
Yeah,
single
have a separate
stadium,
film
and
day
they
to do that
CGI,
scene.
they green screen half like after the first like four rows, they green screen a bunch of extra seats to make it look like a real stadium rather than having like they fought in a green screen box, and you could tell.
Yeah.
That being said, the fight wasn't reliant on CGI because it was reliant on the choreography and the cinematography with Dame and Adonis going back and forth and trading blows. And that was incredible. I really liked the camera angles. There was something extremely
Absolutely.
satisfying about the camera angles with this movie for each hit that happened and how it followed the action. I really, really want to go back and rewatch this movie just to now pay attention to how they conducted the fight scene cinematically.
Absolutely. The camera movements with the fight scenes are fantastic. You feel every single punch and hit in that film, and that's fantastic. Especially seeing it in IMAX where the sound is, also incredible on top of that. It made the experience feel like you were right in the fight, which is cool. Um
So yeah,
yeah.
I mean, great movie overall. There's some things that happen with Adonis's daughter that we felt like wasn't really paid off
Yeah,
in
we
the
talked about
movie.
this for a while last night. It's not like I feel like the stuff with his daughter was done more for Adonis, and in that way it was paid off. But the fact that you built this up with his daughter and then you never really got a payoff with it, that's what bothered me probably the most with the movie. And that's why I said I
Yeah,
just want another 30 seconds to pay that off. Like I just want to know how his daughter's doing, and that's it. Like that I just want to know that she's growing, that she's
15 minutes.
understanding that. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
can see
there's
that.
there's
Yeah. Like just little nitpicky stuff like that.
and it's not even a huge part of the plot. It's not going to destroy the
No.
plot, but there's just a moment where Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson are talking about how they're going to raise their daughter
Mm-hmm.
to handle specific issues, and then it never like goes from
Never
there.
really goes anywhere. And I think again, like I think it's built up more for like a reverse psychology on Adonis's character, which you do get a payoff for, but at the same time, like You put that there,
I
so
was
I want to see it paid off.
I mean, they made us invested in his family. I'd have liked to see a little
Yeah.
bit of a payoff for his family. But yeah, it does. It didn't really
Yeah.
doesn't really bother you because the whole focus is so Adonis central that
Hmm.
like you can forget about it. But like if we're critiquing it, that's something that I wish had. I think 15 minutes. Okay, my biggest thing that happened is the first two acts are phenomenal, and then somehow there's like a weird pacing issue from the first two to the third act. So it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
this movie is ever dragging. I'm just going to clarify. It doesn't feel like the movie is slow. It doesn't feel like the movie is boring. And it doesn't feel like the movie is longer than it should be. What happens is we have the first two acts, and then somehow we're already in the training montage. Like, we just
Yes.
kind of blink and we're
Exactly.
there.
You got these 2 acts of building up all this drama, and then it just twists on its head. Like suddenly it's all tell no show. Let me explain to you this big gap in this one tiny little scene. All I'm just gonna explain it to you by talking to you, telling you exactly what's happening. Now let's go to training montage and get to the last fight. It's like suddenly they were at time and they needed to finish up what they needed to build up, and so they just told you what happened. It's
Yeah.
like you're watching a show with somebody, like binge watching a show with somebody, but they missed the third episode, so you just explain to them what happened to the third episode so you can get to the fourth one. That's kind of how it felt.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not super spoilerish. You've seen it in the trailers. Jonathan Majors tells Michael B. Jordan that he's coming for it all, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
coming to, like, take down Adonis's legacy. Um, but we never see that. There's some tension between Damien and Adonis, and then all of a sudden, I kid you not, all of a sudden, like they're talking about it on a news broadcast, and they just kind of mention the fact that since Damien's back into boxing, he's been doing but nothing except talking trash about Adonis, but you never see that.
Nope.
And so it clips from like him being like, I'm gonna like take it all to training montage
Yeah.
for the last fight. And so I think, yeah, 10 or 15 minutes. I don't even think it needs 20. 10 or 15 minutes to give us a montage of Jonathan Major being a little bit more antagonistic. Like
Mm-hmm.
2 to 5 extra minutes just for the payoff with the daughter.
Yep. Agreed. It does show a solid montage of Dame trash talking Creed to others, at least. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
didn't
guess
feel like
during
that
the
happened.
beach scene, but like it's not enough. Like you never see what he actually
Yeah,
contributed
you,
to Adonis's legacy and career.
yeah,
Like
you've,
it's just mentioned.
yeah, because it's supposed to be him like chopping Adonis's like. Here's the thing: it's supposed to give us a reason for Adonis to fight Dame, and I didn't feel like there was a reason for Adonis to fight Dame. Um, hot take: I feel like Adonis. All right, let's just take this out into left field. Adonis could have gone to therapy and coped with his issues and figured out how to reconcile with Dame, and
Mm-hmm.
like we would have gotten the same ending.
Yeah.
So it's why did Adonis have to fight? There was no reason for me to see why Adonis had to fight Dame rather than conquer his emotions. I think they could have shown a little bit more of Dame doing damage to Creed's reputation, or Adonis Creed's reputation, and how that's affecting him and his way of life and his lifestyle and his family's life. And then he could have fought. Just to throw things out there, maybe it causes so much heat that Adonis can't go anywhere without his like with his family, without being constantly barraged by paparazzi. And
Yeah, that
maybe
would
he
have
just feels
actually been
claustrophobic
a
and he
great
can't do
payoff.
anything.
A great payoff because he actually mentions in the beginning of the film that he's fine to go places. So
Hmm.
something like that would have been a great payoff
Or
and
maybe
also a
he
good builder.
he undermines, like, because of his inside knowledge of what's going on with Bianca, Tessa Thompson's
Mm-hmm.
character. Maybe he starts spilling some beans, and that tarnishes her reputation as well. And
Yeah,
so Adonis feels like he's just got to shut this guy up. 10 more minutes.
very well. Um, is there any other points we wanted to talk about?
Um, no, it's great.
It is. It is a really great movie. Absolutely recommend. Um,
I wonder if it was like they were actually going to show more of Dame, but it got cut short because it was already over 2 hours. I'd be so mad if that's the case.
I mean that does
Movie
happen, so I don't know.
movie studios have
So
been doing that a lot lately.
easy the best of the year so far. Easily the best of the year so far. Absolutely, Ryan. I was gonna say something and I totally just forgot. Oh, we'll have to come back on when the here's hoping we get a director's cut. Yeah, when we get an extended cut, how
Right.
much better it is. Yeah. Really good. So, what is your ranking of the three Creed movies?
Oh, like a tier list?
Mm-hmm.
So hard. All right, you're gonna think I'm weird. Two is my favorite. Two is S tier. Um, two has the sickest training montages.
Oh,
But
two's training montage was absolutely the best one.
in Drago's training montage, because Drago gets a training montage in the very beginning, that man is a monster.
Yeah.
He is not human. Um, so Creed 2, and I'm gonna say Creed 1 and 3 are tied.
Really?
Um, I do not think that 1 is weak. I don't think Creed 3 is weak either. 1 very much lacks an antagonist,
Yes.
but it has a lot of charming moments between Rocky and Adonis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Creed 1 and 2 are tied, and then 3 is slightly below them. I really like 3. I know 3 has flaws, but I'm kind of going out on a limb with 3 because they were incredibly ambitious with some things, and it
Yeah.
won me over. Um, 1 doesn't have an antagonist. Not saying that it does not have good drama, because Rocky going through cancer, relationship between Adonis and Rocky is phenomenal, but there's not an antagonist, and they play it safe. Um, and they copy Rocky 1. Albeit Rocky or
That's
Creed 3 copies Rocky 3.
I seen that
Hands
last
down.
night. Yeah, it is. It's
Uh,
very Rocky formulated.
but but um the antagonist was so significantly different, even though the plot's like very similar to Rocky 3. The antagonist was so significantly different than Clubber Lang, and I felt for Dame a lot. And though, there's some questionable things that he does because he's the antagonist. Well, not really questionable. There's some bad things that he does because he's an antagonist. I feel really bad for somebody in his position. And I wanted him to succeed. I just wanted him to succeed the right way. Um, and so I really liked that. I really liked the fight scenes. The fight scenes in 3, I think, far outweigh 1. 1 has some good fight scenes, don't get me wrong. But 3 is more ambitious with their fight scenes, and it shows. Um, and so I think there's some things that Creed 1 has better pacing and has a better payoff in the end, but Creed 3 is more ambitious with its antagonist and building a unique take on an already established story and its fight scene. So,
Um, yeah, good take. My list is probably 2, 1, 3. Um, but 1 and 3 are very close for the same reasons you described. Like 1 is very much similar to Rocky 1. That being said, I like Creed 1 more than I like Rocky 1. I hope that's not super blasphemous to say.
I mean, Creed is you didn't grow up watching Rocky, and
No.
so
And
Rocky's dated.
I liked Rocky. I liked the characters in it, but man, the fights are boring in Rocky.
Yeah,
They're so
they get
boring.
better. They get better,
Um, where
but yes.
Creed does a really good job of making everything feel more intense and more impactful. So I like watching the fights in Creed a lot more. But
Rocky 2.
yeah, I
Yeah.
feel
I
like
love 4. I'm just
one
gonna
is
say that.
only topping out on 3 for me because I miss the relationship between Adonis and Rocky. And I think that's the
Yeah.
only reason it's powering over 3 slightly.
Bro, Hearts on Fire training montage, so good. Anyway, that's all I'll say about 4. But um, no, I agree, but I also appreciated the fact that they moved on without
I do too.
Rocky.
I do too. I just
Um,
miss it. And I do wish they would have said something about Rocky in this movie.
mhm,
Just said one little thing about him cuz I don't know, like it felt like they just completely wiped him out. And
neglected
that
him.
was
I
like,
agree.
yeah, and that saddened me. Cuz Sylvester
I
Stallone
think
didn't have
yeah,
to be in it, but I wish they would have just said something about Rocky, even if like it was something about like, oh, Rocky's son is having another kid or something like that, or eat like
yeah,
is something as simple as that, just to show Rocky's with them and enjoying the rest of his life with his family. That would have
yeah.
been good enough for me.
I like though how this was very much Adonis's journey. Is
Mm-hmm.
Adonis didn't need a coach anymore. Like I
No.
mean, every boxer needs a coach, right? You're not going to be good enough without a coach. But he was established. He knew what he had to do. So when it came to the training montage, it wasn't about a coach pushing him. It was just a coach helping Donnie get out of the way of himself.
And get
And
back
Donnie
in
trained
shape because he
himself.
hadn't been fighting for 3 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, oh, it cracks me up. There's one scene where it's Adonis has been
Rocky,
retired.
agreed.
Um, um, yeah, Rocky. I mean, Adonis has been retired, and he's flirting with his wife Tessa, and he's acting like he's fat, right? Because he's retired. He's like, "You still love this?" And he's like rubbing his belly, but the camera very clearly is like showing from chest up only, because you know if they like pan down, he's gonna be shredded out of his mind. It cracked me up.
uh, the movie's good. The movie's really good. Um, I like how it ended. I think it's a really good finale. I feel like they left it in a good place that this could be the last one, but at the same time, they also left it in a place that they
I
could come
have
up
a
with something to do a fourth one. So
I have an interesting take, but we have to go in the spoiler section
do I need to
about any
add like a
sequels.
big spoiler text
Did
thing?
we? Yeah.
Hold
Yep.
on.
Big red spoiler talk. So overall, phenomenal movie. I recommend seeing it in the theater. I recommend buying tickets at full price to support. I recommend taking your family.
Oh crap, where'd it go?
A director's cut would still be nice if there was one. Yeah, no, I was super satisfied. It's just good to have okay, in my opinion, it's me. We only got 2 good movies last year. No, 3. Because didn't The Northman come out last year?
Yes,
But The Northman's not for everybody. So
it's definitely not.
Northman is gonna turn some people off, which I acknowledge. But I think we only got 3 good movies last year. Avatar, Maverick, and um, The Northman. Yeah, that's where we're gonna disagree. But anyway, for me, I'm just saying it felt nice to finally have a movie like a really good movie this early in the year. It gives me hope that film isn't dead.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh, we still haven't watched that. I keep forgetting that came
Oh
out
yeah, we
last
haven't.
year.
Did that? I swear, I thought that came out in 2021, like the tail end.
Yeah, no, it came out last year. I think early last year. Because it came out right after Doctor Strange, right?
Oh, you're right. All right, I'll give you that one. That one,
We'll give it
that's
to
just
you.
out of neglect from me. That one was really good. For me, the Batman wasn't terrible, but the Batman was very mid. Um, yeah, different takes on that. Um, I feel like there's a lot more. If I had to rank very quickly my favorite Batman movies, um, or if I had to rank what I think are the Batman, yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that. I think the Batman isn't as good as Batman '89, the Christopher Nolan trilogy, or the extended edition of Batman.
Anyway, we're not talking about the Batman. We're talking about
But
Creed.
I do like Matt Reeves though. So moving on to Creed, do we need to get back to my point?
Yes.
You're gonna have to. I knew I should have wrote it down. Um, what was I talking about? Adonis using Damien. All right, full spoiler warning. This is why I think Adonis used Damien. Okay, we know that Damien set up for Drago's hands to get broken. Okay, or his wrists. That being said, the first thing that Adonis does is try to get his man an easy payday. He does exactly what Apollo Creed does in the first movie, which Apollo Creed can't get his fight. And so what does he try and do? He tries to beat up on some local goober that has no chance of beating him just so he can get a huge payday. And that's exactly what Adonis does for his friend. He was not trying to help Damien. And it shows because Damien trained himself. Adonis wasn't helping Damien the whole time. Damien reaches out to the only person he knows for help, and he doesn't get a semblance of help from Adonis. He just gets used and manipulated by Adonis. And so he gets set up as just a goober because hopefully it will still be a good payday for everybody. And Damien has to train himself. Like, even when it's in the locker room, Adonis doesn't even support Damien. He doesn't help him put on his gloves. He doesn't do anything to like emotionally back him. It felt to me like Tommy from Warrior all over again. The guy who had nothing and he's just trying his hardest to do something.
You're not
Um,
wrong.
and so, and then the fight starts, and all Adonis is doing is rooting for the heavyweight champion. Like, imagine the only person you know who used to be your brother, and you reached out to him, and he just uses you for payday, where you're just gonna get your, like, supposedly, right? We don't know how good Damien is at this point. Like, Damien could have just got absolutely destroyed, and Adonis didn't care.
You're not wrong.
And that's also why I sympathized with Damien a lot more. I know what he did wasn't right, but he was using the only resources that he had to try and make a dream come true, which weren't the greatest resources. Um, and he was just alone. Man, he was just
Creed was
a
alone.
cold. He was. He was alone, and every time you see him, he's just in cold walls, like he's in prison still. I felt for that.
You know what would have been great? If the guys would have just talked to each other.
All right, this one time I will give it to you that
like,
you know.
like they could have just talked it out and they would have been fine. But no.
Yeah. So I actually they did though.
They did at the end
I
after beating each other up. But you know what? Boys will be boys. That's fine. But they
so
did.
I actually understand why Damien turned on Adonis after Damien got the title. He did what he dreamed of, this like in spite of Donnie, despite Donnie's help. He reached out to Donnie. Donnie did nothing for him. He did everything by himself, always. And anytime he thought Donnie had his back, Donnie never had his back. And so I understand why he all of a sudden becomes cocky and just starts going after Donnie, is because Donnie just let him down constantly.
I agree that Donnie should have done more, but I also feel like it is unfair for Dame to expect Donnie to just like let him be a famous fighter right off the bat.
Yeah,
Like, I think that is something Dame needed to understand, that Creed couldn't just be Dame's clout, basically. Like, he couldn't just do that
Yes.
for him. So that
But
that's
here's the
where I
thing.
was having a hard time with Dame, because I felt like Dame, that's what he wanted, was just Adonis's clout. But I do agree with you that Adonis should have done more, and that's why Dame got even more upset. I do get that, but
I
that
think
was the feeling I was getting.
yes, but I kept thinking before, why doesn't Donnie explain to Dame what his plan is for Dame?
Agreed.
I think
Again,
Dame.
they could have talked.
Yes,
They
they
should
should have
have
talked it out.
talked.
But that's the thing is that's why I'm still sympathetic to Dame
I get that.
because Donnie was doing nothing for him. And
Yeah, I
so
agree.
I think he would have become more of an antagonist if Donnie sat him down and said, "Hey, I can't give you the heavyweight championship right now. But look, I know where you're at and you're running out of time. I can at least set you a fight up with like a top 5 fighter in the next few months. And if you can work with me and you stay focused and you can prove yourself with that top 5 fighter, that will give us one shot for your heavyweight title." I think Dame would have been happy with that.
Yeah, no, I
I
agree with
think
you. I think Adonis should have gotten him fights and helped him build his own name. And I feel like Dame would have appreciated that more, because he would have been able to prove himself to get to where he wanted to go. But I don't know. There was definitely a miscommunication, because Adonis wasn't doing anything and Dame just wanted clout. And there was a
no,
problem.
Dame didn't want clout. That's where I think you're wrong.
I
Dame
felt
had
like Dame wanted clout.
no. I don't think Dame wanted clout. Dame wanted a life.
Yes, but he wanted to jump in at the head, but without taking time to
Yes,
do anything. So yes, he
I
did want
get.
clout.
I don't think he wanted clout as much as he wanted to prove himself. That's the thing is I don't think he wants like clout or the fame and the fortune. He just had a dream, and that's the only thing he's ever known, and it's the only thing he was able to pursue before going into prison. And so he just wanted his life, and to him, his life was boxing, and to him, his dream was becoming number one.
I
And
agree
so it
with
wasn't
you.
about the fame and fortune. So that's why I say it's not clout. He was fighting for his life, just like Rocky was in Rocky One.
Okay, maybe
But
clout's the wrong
he did
word,
it the
but
wrong way.
he was expecting to be number one right off the back. That's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't want to take the time to build that up. And again, Adonis didn't explain to him or do anything to help him do that. But Dame had this misconception that he could just take it in one go. And that's the problem. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well, I know, but and it's ridiculous to expect that. But I also
It is
like
ridiculous to
understand
expect that.
it is ridiculous, but I understand his desperation that was pushing that.
I do too. I'm not saying I don't understand where Dame is coming from or what he wanted. I'm just saying that he had this misconception that he
Oh
could
yeah,
take it all in one go.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Which was a misconception. But like I said, if Donnie sat him down and said, "Hey, we already have a fight set up for these two guys," yeah, exactly. I agree. Both are fair
Like
points. We have this
they
fight's
should have
happening,
talked.
but like I can get you in the top 5. I don't know how you're gonna do, but I will train you. And so next, let's say we have 3 months to get yourself in order so you can do top 5. If you win that fight, it will give you
We'll keep
enough
moving on.
merit. Well, it'll give you enough merit that we can probably stage a title fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that was the case, I think Dame would be on board because he knew his shot would happen.
Mhm.
And it wouldn't feel like he's giving Dame sloppy seconds either, you know?
No.
At least I
No.
don't think. I don't
Yeah,
think
I agree.
Dame would have expected sloppy seconds if it's, hey, this fight's happening, so we're gonna get you the next best thing, and then we're gonna get you the best thing after that.
Yeah. It's going to take some work and some time, and you got to prove yourself before I can give you a shot. Like,
So
that's where it needed to happen. They needed to The boys needed to sit down and have a damn conversation.
They did, but Donnie just wanted Damien to disappear.
Yeah.
Because it reflected a hard point in Donnie's life, and he was just filled with guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just wanted Damien to disappear, so he didn't have to cope with his guilt. Okay, here's my thing. I think this presents itself for an interesting fourth movie about Adonis training Jonathan Majors' character. So, end of the movie, I didn't know how this movie was going to end because I did not want Jonathan Majors needed to lose, but I didn't want him to lose. Because I was kind of heartbroken that this man, I just felt like he really, really deserved a shot. He deserved a chance to have a life and to have a dream. And so I didn't want him to lose, even though he needed to lose. So I think if there was fourth movie, yeah, I wouldn't complain if this was the last Creed either. And so I think that Jonathan Majors' character Dame should have a shot. I would be so happy, even if it's not about Dame, that we can see Dame like being successful and having a life and finding happiness. Because I really like this character, and I want that for his character because of his portrayal of his character. And I think it'd be really, really cool. What?
The fourth movie, Dame gets in the ring with some random foreigner.
No.
It's huge.
No. I said this last night.
Ends up dying.
We're not rehashing Rocky 4. I love Rocky 4.
And then
we're not rehashing Rocky 4.
30 years, we find out Dame had a long lost daughter. And she shows up on Adonis Creed's door to be trained.
And she has to fight Donnie's daughter.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Now, I think it'd be really cool to have a fourth movie with Jonathan Majors and Adonis training Jonathan Majors and Jonathan Majors fighting clean. And getting the chance and the shot that he wants. And maybe he just like has a fight and then he retires. Like he gets the belt the right way and then he retires. I just want him to like be successful. And I don't want him, I don't know. I feel for him. I don't want him to be alone. I don't want him to be sad. I don't want him to have an unfulfilled dream. I don't want him to have lost all of his life between cold walls and iron bars. I actually like this character a lot. That's just me being sappy.
Alright, well, I think we covered everything. Does chat have anything they want us to talk about? Anything to add? Any questions before we hop off?
I have a question. Did anybody not see Donnie's mom dying?
I mean, I saw it coming the second that they said she had a stroke the first time, but I was
right.
I doesn't mean I didn't burst into tears.
It's not coming, right? It was so much. It copied Rocky 3 so hard. Like Polly dying, or not Polly, Mickey dying. Right as Clubber Lang shows up.
They hinted at it at least. Well, they did. They said she, like, I realized that she was probably gonna die when they had the conversation about her first stroke, and it was like, oh, okay, like this, she's gonna die. This is great. She's also probably gonna die at the worst point of the movie, and I'm gonna be dead, and she did. But
I wish the training montage was a little better. I wish it was more gritty in the sense that it showed the parallel of Adonis fighting with his emotions, feeling like he let his mom down at the very end, like right before she passed, as well as him feeling like he let Donnie down.
I was also a
Um,
little disappointed with the training montage as well. I mean, the plane thing was cool, but like you see the training montages get more and more intense and more insane with each movie. And like this was not nearly as insane as him going down to Mexico and digging a hole with a hammer, like in the second one. Like
it was he fought Drago, got beat up, ran with some weights.
yeah.
Wait, I just realized the scene. Hang on, the scene in the trailer where he takes like a huge ice bath. Was that even in the training montage? I don't remember that.
No, because I think it was
There's
at the
a,
beginning of the movie, wasn't it?
where he's taking an ice bath. No, like there's a part of the trailer where
I
he's
remember the
like
scene in the
he
trailer.
submerges himself completely
Oh yeah.
in the bathtub, and he like it shows him popping up from just like, yeah, like the bathtub filled with ice, and he's
Yeah,
just
no,
covered
I
in
know what
ice.
you're
And
talking about. Yeah, and that wasn't in the movie at all. Probably was just
yeah,
a
let
hidden
me.
shot. I mean, yeah, that or it was part of
I
the
feel
scene
like
ended up getting deleted.
yeah, there must have been stuff that okay. I'm now on board with saying there's some cuts made to this movie because it was over 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm interested to see when it comes out, like to watch the deleted scenes and see if um it fixes the points we've made.
Hmm. Um. Yeah. So the training montage was basically like what him fights Drago. I mean, we're gonna Jonathan Major looking shredded. I'm just gonna put the overview. Jonathan Major's just being an absolute beast, but it was him puts
Yeah.
on like fights Drago, puts on a weighted vest, runs for a little bit, gets beat up by Drago, starts pulling a plane, gets beat up by Drago, realizes that every victory he's actually earned, wakes back up, turns back into Creed, pulls the plane, makes it up the hill, screams, end of scene. Right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Like it wasn't a bad training montage, but it feels like a first film training montage, not a third film
Yeah,
training montage. So I was a little disappointed with it too.
agreed. Oh, okay. My three biggest complaints were number one, the music constantly doing the
Oh
Rocky theme
yeah.
song and then dipping straight out. Like they just would not commit to the Rocky theme song, but they played enough to it, which was so frustrating. It's like dun da da dun da da
Dun, dun, dun,
dun dun
dun.
dun, and then it just like goes off and does its own thing, and you're just like, what the heck? Or da dun dun, and then instead of going da dun dun, it just goes da dun 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 dun, and it just like, oh, it drove me nuts. It constantly. I love music, and I'm really big into the music of games and scores or movies scores. And so I constantly heard it where it's like da dun dun, and then it would go up two more and just go bum bum, and it just did not feel as impactful as ba bum. Did Ludwig Göransson compose for Creed 3? I think so. Let me double check.
um,
It was. Oh no, music is composed by Joseph Shirley.
oh, they changed composers.
So that drove me nuts. Um, Needing 15 more minutes. Okay, you definitely noticed the difference. I did too. The music wasn't as impactful. That being said, like the rap songs that they picked, 12 out of 10 for the most part. Especially liked Dr. Dre in the beginning.
Oh my gosh, can we talk about the fact that he said from Wakanda in one of the songs
Oh, and
too? And Michael B. Jordan
yeah.
was in. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Not gonna lie.
Um,
That was so meta. I know. I was like, he said Wakanda. I'm so excited. All right. Well, that is our review of Creed 3. This was fun.
I know it wasn't Dr. Dre. Opening song wasn't Dr. Dre. But I like the old school rap back in the very beginning. Anyway, it was really good. Very watchable. Worth rewatching. Worth getting a director's cut because some stuff was definitely cut.
Definitely. Oh, really great
Um,
movie. Definitely the best movie of the year so far. Great discussion, nice. Thanks. Thanks. I think we should definitely do more of this.
yeah, thanks for your input. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to do an ultra mega super ultra mega 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 super ultra mega late of everything everywhere all at once all at the same time.
Yes. We still have
Always.
not sat down and watched
I,
that.
I can't remember the title of that name. I never get the title of that name or the title of that movie right ever.
Everything, everywhere, all at once, right?
All at the same time, but only on Wednesdays.
Oh
That
my
will be the
gosh.
sequel. I really want to see that, but yes.
But we have a long list of movies coming out this year. We can go back and watch some other ones. Um, and
I'll
yeah,
get on here and just absolutely roast the Batman at some point and say how it's an absolutely terrible. No, I don't think the Batman was terrible. Um, Batman was cool, just wasn't my favorite.
let's not.
Let's not. No,
All
no.
right. Make sure you're following this channel. I'm gonna upload this VOD up to YouTube later, so if you need to rewatch it, or if you miss one, they will be there. And I don't know.
Yeah, and
What's
just for
next?
Ryan, what's next movie? Let's see. For me, this might be a standalone. Is John Wick 4?
I mean, I'll go see John Wick 4 with you. That's
Yeah,
fine.
but you need 2 through 3. You've seen one. We
That's
won't
true.
make you rewatch one. You need 2 through 3. For Ryan, I was gonna say with Batman, just to give you my just to end things general impression. Batman had some of the coolest scenes that any Batman has ever done, but I think it was a little bit flawed in some regards. I won't get into the nitpicky, but nothing to me beats the opening scene of the Batman in any Batman movie. That opening scene in the Batman was the perfect setting to explore what Gotham's like, and then like just Batman, best Batman introduction I've ever seen in a movie was for the opening minutes of the Batman. But I think it was flawed overall. But it had some really cool scenes. Um, let's see, movies, 2023 movies.
I think John Wick's probably the next one, and then Mario. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
We're
then
not like super ultra critics. We will watch anything that has like a screen. Um,
I think after that is probably Guardians, right?
Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Oh, good gosh. I'm sad that I saw the first Magic Mike, so
Oh geez, I've never seen them.
you don't want to.
Um, why am I only seeing horror movies?
I don't know. Anyway, we'll be back at one point, Fast X.
Oh goodness, that means if I'm watching Fast X, I have to go through and watch Fast 6 through 9. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, same. They lost me very, very early on.
They're all the same
movie.
movie.
They are.
Like Vin Diesel in a car launching it somewhere, whether it's into space, off a cliff, into a semi, like Vin Diesel in a car that's getting launched somewhere. Oh, Mission Impossible.
That's true.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for Mission Impossible because they've been exciting. They've been fun. They're just fun, good popcorn movies.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
I am so pumped for Oppenheimer.
I'm with you there.
I'm
Oppenheimer is
so
gonna be
excited.
Oppenheimer's gonna be Dopenheimer. Um, yeah, I think that's it for now. I mean, that gives us enough through summer, and then we'll figure out what's coming out at the tail end of the year, especially the holiday season.
Was meant to direct that. He really was. I'm so excited. Not only is Nolan directing it, the
Dune Part
cast
2.
list is fantastic in Oppenheimer. The story looks super intense. The trailer made me nearly have a heart attack. Like
Oh,
I'm so excited.
I have to watch Dune Part 1. I'm not a
Oh,
huge
that's right.
sci-fi person. So
I
Dune 1 didn't interest me. I'm not saying it's bad. It just I never got out to see it. Yeah, and I can stream it now. It's just it hasn't called to me.
It's long
So
too.
I'll have to watch
Like
part 1.
it's a commitment to watch. Um,
That doesn't bother me.
Dune, the first one, I thought was really cool, but I felt very much like a naive outsider because the movie doesn't do a great job at explaining the world it takes place in. Like the story's done well, but it does not do a good job of that. So me not knowing the world of Dune, I felt like I was at a very disadvantage because it took me like almost halfway through the movie to understand what was happening. So I don't know. I might have to go rewatch it now that I understand kind of the world it takes place in. I might understand the story better and get more into it. But I that was my disconnect watching it the first time.
Oh yeah. That's coming up soon
I'll
that we
probably
need to
watch
see
that.
is I just realized something that's finally coming out soon because the rights were finally purchased and distributed is Guy Ritchie's movie, the Operation Fortune.
Yes.
So hopefully that's good. And then Guy Ritchie has The Covenant coming out with
Let's go, Guy
Jake
Ritchie.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
I really like Guy Ritchie. And I'm really excited for The Covenant. When does that come out?
I hope later
Covenant.
this year. Can't remember. The lot's
April.
taken.
Oh,
Yeah,
that can be my birthday movie.
I'll probably appreciate it more upon rewatch, Ryan. It's just that was my I had a really hard time watching it the first time because of that.
You can probably take spoiler talk.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I probably can.
yeah, so The Covenant, I'm really excited for. Hopefully, it's as emotional as it appears it's going to be. Um, let's figure out
Yeah.
what Disney movies are coming out this year.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, Guardians. That's the one Marvel movie I'm still excited for. I'm praying.
Um, Elemental.
I don't even know
Um,
what that is.
it's
Oh my
Pixar.
goodness. All right. Are we going to watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of 911 because I broke my hip filming this?
He is too old to keep acting. I love Harrison Ford, but the man is too old. Let him retire. It is so hard to watch him now.
Um,
Well, we'll see. I don't know. Might go see it for fun, but I don't have a lot of high
oh,
hopes
Peter
for it.
Pan and Wendy.
I can't
Oof,
even
that
get
looks
through
as rough as
this.
The Little Mermaid. They're redoing the Haunted Mansion.
They are? Why?
Elemental. Is that supposed to be
I think
like
it's Pixar. Pretty sure it's Pixar.
a follow up to something? Okay.
No.
The Marvels.
Yeah, no interest.
Wait, Avatar 4 in 2026? You're kidding me. I'm gonna be like 49 by the time James Cameron finishes his Avatar series.
Avatar 4. We haven't even gotten to Avatar 3 yet, babe.
Oh, that's right. Wait, okay. Avatar 3.
I think
Okay,
Avatar
it's
3 comes out
December of
next
next year.
year. Yeah. Um Elemental could be hit or miss. It could be cute, but it also could
That's
be
hard.
Disney. So,
I just didn't realize which Avatar we're on. Man, they're so long anyway. They're like 6 movies already. I liked Avatar too.
I liked Avatar 2 a lot too. I liked it more the second time.
Yeah, I did too. Well, that's because we actually watched it in 3D a second time.
Yeah, which IMAX 3D makes that movie.
Yes. Um.
Um,
Yeah, we have a couple good movies to look forward to. Oh,
it
I don't
does.
think it.
It does.
It does have some flaws, but it was still. I think we can all admit that Avatar 2 just a fun popcorn movie. It
It
wasn't
is.
perfect, but it took you to a different place. It took you out of the theater into a new world, and you can just kind of like enjoy, even though it was like, ooh, look at this shiny object. Ooh, look at this shiny object. It was still fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water people during the final battle that disappear. Gotta catch them all because they're Danny Phantom. Um, yeah, I appreciated it. It's not like my favorite movie of all time, but there's just, I mean, sometimes you don't need like Oscar movies. Sometimes you just need like those solid in betweeners. Like,
I gotta say, there's a lot more popcorn movies that I enjoy more than an Oscar movie. So
oh yeah, the reaction video of the how it should have ended. That would be funny. Um, I mean, like, cause mid movies are the best sometimes. Like you have your J Lo, rom coms, which some are they're hit or miss, but you've got like a solid J Lo rom com, right? That's just like I liked it. What is the Wedding Planner?
Wedding Planner's cute.
Right? It's cute. It's not great, but like a lot of people just like the Wedding Planner because it's a cute movie. And then like John Wick. John Wick is the most mid movie that's ever existed. But like since it
Has a
knows
cult
what it
following.
is,
Yeah.
it's got more than a cult following now. But since it's more than just like it knows it's a mid movie and it just leans into that, it's so good. Like it's never gonna win an Oscar, but by golly, John Wick is just John Wick 1 is not mid.
John Wick.
I will say in action quality, John Wick is not mid. For the West at least. The West hasn't figured out the West is slowly trying to figure out how to do fight scenes from the 80s in Asia. So they're only 30 years, 40 years behind now. But, you know. Very well executed revenge story. Okay. In mind, I love John Wick to death. That's some of my favorite film franchise right now. But bro, it was about a puppy died. All right, that is not the greatest revenge. Like a very well executed
Goes
revenge
on a
story. A
murdering
puppy
rampage because people killed his dog. That is the
this
plot
puppy
line
that
of John Wick 1.
given it's the last thing he ever received from his wife, and I get that.
That being said, babe, would you go on a murdering rampage if someone killed Queenie?
I wouldn't go on a murdering rampage. I would just find the one guy and just like make his legs point towards the sky. Um,
I would.
yeah, we have a cute puppy.
We do.
Oh, should we do a puppy reveal?
Yeah, do you want to bring her in here?
Yeah. Hold up.
This is our dog. He doesn't have a camera, by the way. It's not that he doesn't want people to see his face, but he just doesn't have a camera. Oh, he didn't even come in to show his face. Here, Queen.
I'll do a face reveal at some point, and it will be anticlimactic because I'm a mid. Talking of mids.
Hold on, Queen. We're not centered. There we go. Say hello. Say hello. Mwah.
My take is that I was locked up for 3 hours while they saw the movie, so I think it sucks. That's the dog's take on the movie.
Mwah. All right.
Well, this has been fun, babe. We've been
was fun.
talking about doing this forever, and we finally got to do it.
I know. It was fun.
So,
We'll definitely do more of it.
last clip of this stream. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Creed 3 is worth watching in theaters, worth spending full price on a ticket to.
Worth going
Really
to
enjoyable.
see in IMAX.
Yep, we're seeing in IMAX. It's flawed, but it is ambitious and it tries a lot of new things, which a lot of them do pay off. And so I was really happy with my whole time watching Creed.
Agreed.
Creed 3.
All right, make sure to follow. Follow this channel. We'll be doing more of this. And
Like and
eventually...
subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you. We love you.
Thanks, babe. And eventually we'll get Retri a camera so you can see his face.
Woo. Mid. All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Have a good one.